right, so we are at 2 today.
Just the two of us. What's going on, Kay?
Man, trying to juggle it all. How about you?
Good, man. We missed you at the Mayday reunion the other day, man.
Looked like it was a good time.
Yeah, we have fun, man. We have
Good.
fun, and you were the only one missing there. Well, at least we got you in the FaceTime picture.
Yep. It was
That was
pretty
cool.
pretty good. There was only one missing out of the entire.
Yeah,
That was good.
yeah. Considering, yeah, man. But how's everything been with you and the family?
Yeah, everything's all right, man. Just ripping and running around. Been a lot of travel going on, coming up. So just trying to maneuver through all that. But,
And the when you're away and traveling, does that put a lot of pressure on your wife?
it does. So I have to, it's like you got to pick and choose where to go, when to go, try to be mindful of just the length. I try to keep them shorter when I can. Cause it is a lot, even though it might say it's only a couple days, but then it's just the everyday stuff. You got to do all the morning stuff, school, whatever kind of work you got, you know what I mean? It's a lot. So I don't know if you've ever experienced the single style for a couple days with kids, but
Like just being by myself?
yeah, with the kids, taking care of them on your
No,
own.
no, no, not. I haven't. I mean, I've done like maybe a full day or something like that, but not a couple days. No, I haven't yet.
Yeah, that that's an interesting thing. That'll be
I
a
mean, I imagine because
yeah,
it's it's a lot of it's like it's a lot of hands on.
it is.
A question for you, and I know that maybe since we're it's a podcast, it's public. There might be some times that we don't necessarily disclose too much information. This is nothing crazy, but there's a lot of people like us out there, whether it be our generation or in our industry and or just like-minded people, that like to have fun. When you travel, do you often partake? Like, do the happy hour thing, drink, whatever, drink with associates. I would, I know that it's commonplace. So I'm interested to know,
Yeah,
how you handle it.
yeah, I will, but I'll try to. I definitely, well, for a couple reasons. I mean, I definitely keep it contained for sure.
All right.
One is just being older, you can't bounce back as well as you used to, or at least for me, that kind of
No,
thing.
it's for all of us for sure.
Yeah, and also just like I don't like feeling like shit in the morning, and I've always got stuff to do when I'm out, so I just want to make sure to be on point. And I think that's just what more, I want to have some fun. But also one thing that I'm really mindful about, and I think we might have spoken about this before, but especially when it's like the day before I'm coming home, um, like that days are always like, even if folks are doing whatever, trying to happy hour or party it up, I'm pretty low key because I want to make sure that when I get home,
You can
that yeah,
hit
that
the
I'm ready,
ground running.
yeah, that I'm ready to go, and there's no, you know, because my son's not going to want to hear like, oh, I'm tired, or that any of that kind of stuff. So
Right.
for me, I want to make sure that I'm just I'm ready to rock, because basically you come home, I'm excited to see my family. My son is super excited to see me. So
Right.
I want to have that good energy and not be, just sluggish from some dumb shit.
No, I feel you. I mean, that's how I feel every morning after drink champs, and there's no, everybody knows what I do in terms of drink champs.
Yeah.
If you don't check it out, but we basically, it's a show where we're drinking. But even if I didn't do that show, being in the industry that I'm in, and I've come to find out that pretty much most people in almost any industry is kind of like, maybe let's call it just our society or whatever. It's a part of culture. You know, you go out, even if you're working on work trips, you link with people and you have drinks.
Yeah, it's to be social.
Right.
You have to be on and networking to a certain extent.
Right. And especially for some other people, you know, some people might drink more than others, but it's still a part of what's usually going on. And you know, as we get older, us as parents, you know, and I'm talking to our audience as well, is like we got to start to like probably really take account for what we're doing and how much we're doing it, and make sure that we're taking care of our health, because ultimately at the end of the day, you know, that's saying that it's not our life anymore. It's, you know, it's like it's
Yeah,
not
for
just our
sure.
life. It's, you know, we're living kind of for other people. Well, maybe
Yeah.
I don't. I was gonna say maybe Syph won't see it that way, but the thing about Syph is he doesn't drink at all, so he doesn't
All
do
right.
things. He doesn't partake in any of that stuff, so that this doesn't apply to him. But you were
Well,
gonna say something?
well, no, I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess going like you just brought up Sight, but I do admire those folks that are just kind of naturally can just naturally flow or naturally
Absolutely.
social. And I don't think I'm social enough, but I prefer to be way more in the background and be a listener than a talker. So I admire those that can just do it without any assistance. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I mean, I go back and forth in kind of beating myself up about, you know, whether it's like drinking is a crutch, and you know, other people smoke,
right.
maybe do something else. I don't know. You know, I only really drink, and it's like some days I'm like, damn, you know, you shouldn't, one shouldn't need this crutch or shouldn't use this. But then I sometimes I flip to the other side. I'm like, hey, you know, like this is in a sense still a part of, you know, the natural world as well. And you know, if it, you know, if it makes you feel good, as long as you don't abuse it. But then it depends on who's looking at you. They might think you're
Yeah.
abusing it.
Right. Yeah. How is your? Because I know in the past we've talked about just the guilt feeling of like, oh man, I'm out drinking because of Drink Champs and then coming home. And do you still go through that with like, do you like feel guilty in the morning or anything like that? Just
Yeah, I mean, I go through that. Yeah, I definitely go. I have a duality when it comes to that frame of mind. But you know, if you try to look at it on some scientific biological shit, alcohol is a natural depressant,
right.
right? It's
Yeah.
supposed to be.
Yeah.
So it stirs up those feelings in you. You might not associate it with the alcohol because it's maybe the next day or whatever, but that's what it's actually doing.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And so what I've done for myself is I've acknowledged that, hey, this is a depressant and it's making me feel down, but it's not normal. It's not my natural body. That's what that's doing to me.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
helps me combat those feelings. But for sure, as a whole, you know, I have my mixed feelings about, you know, what I do for a living, the fact that I drink for a living, and then I want to partake in social drinking to have fun with friends and family, you know, and how much combined is that,
Yeah.
what it does to my health. Then also, you know, the baggage of the, you know, I come from my father, you know, alcoholism, and knowing what substance abuse is about, and making sure that trying to like look at myself properly and objectively and say, you know, do I exhibit any of these traits? And if I, you know, like, do I have to tackle any issues? And just trying to be honest with myself
Yeah.
for the betterment of me, but for the family. And so, you know, I try to really stick to certain things where it's like, I don't, you know, I've said this a lot in the past. I
Yeah.
don't drink alone.
Yeah.
Um, I try not to drink at home. Like my girl will like to have, you know, a beer or two, and it upsets her that I won't have it with her. But for me, the type of drinking that I do, a beer or two doesn't do it for me. So there's no point in a beer or two.
Right.
So, and then there's no point in a beer, two or three or four or five or six, because we're at home. And what's the point of, like, I'm not going to get, you know, buzzed and tipsy here with the family and the kids. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's not what this is about. So
Yeah.
it's definitely complicated, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
As I think, you know, drugs and alcohol and all that is a very complicated thing in this country and in society as a whole.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, I mean, we've spoken to plenty of people who don't have a problem doing anything around their kids, and more power to them. Um, yeah, I yeah, I don't even want to be kind of buzzy around my son.
Yeah, I don't mind having a like I don't mind partaking if there's a bunch of people at the house and the kids are there and I get a mild buzz. But I've noticed that I've been able to stop myself at a certain
Yeah.
point
Yep.
and be mindful of, okay, this is it, you know.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely seen me have a couple drinks and all that kind of stuff, and he understands
But I'm definitely not
that.
perfect. I don't want to put that out there.
No,
We're all,
none of us
you
are.
know,
We're
we all might slip up from time to time,
Yeah, we're all trying to figure it out.
but it's funny too that talking about what people do at home. My girl's cousin was here in town from Cali, and she came by the house. We were discussing some stuff. She has kids, and her kids are a little bit older. Like I think they're already teenagers potentially. But we were discussing something that my kids were doing, and we were wondering if my daughter was learning some behaviors from school, blah blah blah, whatever, whatever. And she said that she had friends that the term she uses that they partied a lot and they had no problems partying around their kids.
Mm-hmm.
I took that as partying as drinking or whatever, you know, around kids. And they said that was to them that was normal. That was
Yeah.
what they did. They had no qualms with it and they openly partied and they partied a lot around their kids. So then those kids would learn behaviors seeing the adults act funny, I guess. And they were the kids that were bringing it back and teaching it to her kids.
Okay. Okay.
You know, and so she identified what it was, you know, and it made it weird because it's like you don't really want these kids around. But it was just funny that she mentioned that, like, you know, you're gonna come across people and families that have different, you know, I don't know, I don't want to say morals, but different ways of operating, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, that just reminds me of, like, there was a there was like student councils and stuff like that at school. So, where you have like each classroom has the class president or whatever. So they did that at my son's school a couple weeks ago, and he came back and he's like, yeah, I raised my hand for it and I almost won, but I didn't win. He was cool about it. And then but he was talking about other kids who were going around and they were, basically telling other kids like, hey, I'll pay you $1 if you vote for me, like just doing the whole
Right.
payoff thing, which when you think about, and it just hit me. I was like, damn, okay, so that's in third grade, kids are getting down like that, and
Yep.
that's what a lot of politics ends up being later on in life. And my wife and I were talking and we were just trying to think like, all right, is that something that's whichever kids were doing that, is that inherent in them? Is that like their kind of moral compass where they just feel like, all right, well, this is just kind of how I am? Or I wonder if they're learning that kind of stuff at home also by, whether it's people that they're around or parents that are around or doing business or who knows, and
Hmm.
we didn't really have a solid answer. And what do you think? You think that's something that a kid just is inherently like, hey, if I can pay someone $1, then I can get the vote? Or do you think they're going to learn that?
I mean, that specific, I can't really call it. You know, I do believe that there's, you know, what do they call that? It's oh man, like environment versus what nurture. What's
Oh,
those?
oh yeah, the nurture versus nature type thing.
Yeah, like I do think that there's a little bit of both in all of us. Like I think you inherently, you know, are born with certain attributes and personality traits that are going to eventually develop, but I think the environment dictates which ones take hold
Right.
more, you know, because you know
Right.
everybody has their own personality. You know, we say this whether you believe in zodiac signs or not. You know, I don't know that I believe in. I mean, I'm gonna lie. I kind of do believe in zodiac signs because I do see people kind of falling in those
In those buckets. Yeah.
categories
Yeah.
in how they act. Um, so I don't know. I mean, but I think that, you know, if you're around, you know, maybe your pops comes home and maybe you hear him talk business on the phone, or your mom, or and then you kind of pick up these little things and subconsciously maybe you pick them up and then you think that's like the way the world operates and you apply that when you go to school,
Right.
that might be it. But some kids are more savvy than others, and I think that could be inherent.
Yeah.
Who's more savvy, who has more, who's smoother at kind of like applying these things that the environment is kind of giving them.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense.
But
Makes sense.
and then you're thinking, and it's like, damn, man, like all these pitfalls, all these things to think about. It's like, fuck, bro. I just want my kid to be a decent kid and get through this world. Like it's like shit, man. It's kind of tiring to think about. It's like, do we really have much say in what's gonna happen to these kids?
It's crazy, and especially like as they get older and higher grades in school, and just like then you really start thinking about, all right, well, what's the school environment really like? Are they, are they going to pick up a lot of bad shit from school? Or, I mean, you can only shelter them so much. But I don't know. I think like there's a lot of my son's friends who have older siblings, and, they're in middle school and some are going to high school, and some of the stories and things that I hear about that these kids are going through these days. And then just,
it's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Really? Because I feel like when I was in, like, at least like, well, no, even going back to elementary school, man, I remember hearing about it all and kind of seeing.
I mean, I guess
all
there's
kinds of shit, man.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about it, it's no different than us going to school. I guess it's just coming from a different protective lens now of just like, oh shit,
right, right. Because
like,
it can't be any worse than the crack era, bro, that we grew up in.
I mean, I'd say probably the difference is just the way of, well, there's always been drugs. There'll always be drugs.
Right.
There's always been sex. That'll continue to be the thing. But then I think with these kids, it's just the accessibility to it all at this point, and the ability to kind of mess with each other through social media and the phones and all that. It just elevates the game a little bit. And the privacy level is removed.
Yeah, and it is crazy if you think about it. It accelerates any of, like, imagine just hormonal thoughts.
Yeah.
You can literally, whatever you think of, you can research it online and find it, or find something having to do with it.
Yeah.
That's pretty scary, thinking of a hormonal, preteen or teen. When, for us, we had to like find that Playboy magazine in the garbage to, what I'm saying, to be exposed, right?
Right.
Or some older kid had to say some shit and we had to imagine what that was. And
right.
Yeah, that's pretty scary.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just don't remember. I mean, I know kids like in middle school and everything. That's a weird age for everyone, but like there's one of the middle schools in our neighborhood. There's like a grocery store type thing across the street, and after school, a lot of the kids go over there. And my wife was there one time, and she just couldn't believe what was going on. Like the kids just screaming at each other and just the foulest language. And it was, I mean, it was, she was taking it back. It was on some next level,
right?
And she's like, oh, so really want our son being around that. But I don't know. I don't know if that's just the age of those kids, and the feeling the need to act out a little bit because they quite don't know. Like,
you think that do you think, and this goes back to the environment thing, right now, talking about this, I'm thinking like a kid in the hood like might actually grow up to have more like common sense and sensibilities to this crazy world that we live in, versus a kid protected in like a nice neighborhood.
Yeah, no, I think there's some validity to that, because I think if you're in a nicer neighborhood, or if it's a little bit safer or whatever, then you don't have those normal kind of guards up, and it's like there's no context. I think if you're growing up in a rougher environment, or you just already have to you already have to kind of have some street smarts and know that, all right, well, if I do this, X, Y, and Z could happen. And I think with on the flip side, I don't know if some of these kids understand repercussions as well,
Right.
so they get a little more loose with it.
Like, I would love to be able to take, the only one that would even be able to kind of understand what's going on is my daughter, but both of them, when they're around her age, maybe if he's around 4 or 5 and she's like 6 or 7, I would love to take them to like some of these slums that I've been in around the world. But then I'm like, as their parent, I'm like, nah, I can't do that to them
Yeah.
out of just, security problems, security issues. But I just feel that it would be healthy for them to see and experience and have a day in the life in some of these places, just so they can come back and understand where they live and
Mm-hmm.
appreciate what they have, but then understand and be like the humility of life and what can happen to people. I don't know. I wish I could do that. I wish that was something I could do.
You
Maybe
might
I
be,
mean,
you might do it, man. You might do it. You might
like,
do it.
yeah.
It's not a bad idea.
Like, one of the things, I don't know if you remember, I used to not long ago volunteer and do these things at this local orphanage
Mm-hmm.
here. I've been thinking, when my son gets, maybe next year, maybe starting to go, go back to the orphanage and take them with me.
Yeah.
And so they can, interact, meet the kids, be a part of what I'm doing. We would go and we would do like a pizza day with the kids, donated by Hex Pizza Shop, and we would do not a fundraiser, but like a toy drive or a school supply drive, and then drop it off, and we would be able to hang out and interact with the kids. I think it'd be something that could, not educational, but something that they can get a lot out of, where they can at least come back and go, where are those kids, parents? And then we can have a conversation, and it might open them up in a different way.
Yeah. No, that's a good idea. I know I mean, it's not, there's a lot of homeless and mental illness around issue where around where we live. It's some of it's dangerous, so it's got to be on point. But on the flip side, it's also given my son a look into, like, okay, not everything is sweet, and and it's definitely opened up discussions about, like, kind of the levels of what can happen. Some of it is bad luck that people fall on. Some of it is mental illness that goes unchecked. Some of it is drug and alcohol abuse. So I am thankful a bit that he's been exposed to some of that, just so he can, so we've had those conversations, and it's not, not everything is sweet.
Do you ever feel first of all, have you ever had any incidences where you thought, that you guys, your son was at risk in around any of those people?
Yeah, there's been times. There's definitely been times. I mean, a couple of years ago, there was a murder down the block from us.
Wow.
A couple folks got into it, and so that was a little nerve wracking, because then the person who did the shooting ran away and started stabbing people and stuff. So it was,
Oh my God.
yeah, it was a little crazy. And then there's definitely been times where we're walking around, and you can sense, and I mean, there's definitely the visibility of, like, all right, this person's a little off.
Sketchy.
Yeah. And unstable, and you can see people, like, shouting at people as they're walking by, and, like, trying to start shit and everything. So there's definitely been times where, um you know my radar is up, and it's like, I don't know if this, I don't know if something's gonna happen. And even in our own, like, apartment area, I mean, we have, like, an open area where there's, where, like, the carport is and stuff.
Mhm.
And I'll walk down there, and I've walked down there with him before, and there's people down there doing stuff, and I have to,
That aren't from your apartment complex?
yeah, 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 that are, like, doing shit down there, and I've had tell him to get out, and that kind. He's just like a little nervous.
So do you ever feel vulnerable in those situations? Like how, like, trying to think through how far do I have to take this to protect my family?
Yeah, definitely.
Get the strap. Talking about that, man, I've been worried about, I've always had straps. And of course, having the kids, I've been worried about having them in the home. And
Yeah,
but I'm getting to a point now where I just feel like, I don't know, man, it feels like the world is a little stranger and
it
more
is, man.
dangerous.
It
And
is. It's off.
like I want to like get more, like get more powerful stuff. And yeah, so I've been on that trip lately. Like there's a lot of things that I'm changing and wanting to add when it comes to the security of the family.
Yeah, no, I get you. I mean, I've always, I've, I don't know, man. I go back and forth on it. Like, part of me understands, like, okay, especially with a family, the safety, how providing safety. But then there's another part of me that's like, then if I'm gonna be on some energy shit, like, I don't know, man. It's like if you start bringing more of that type of
It's
energy, then
true.
there's more of the potential for something to happen. I don't know if you like invite the energy with
No,
bringing.
I understand that, and that's part of the reason why maybe I fell back at some point in terms of like being into those things.
Yeah,
I have them. There was a time that I was like into having them,
yeah. I know what you're talking about.
But I definitely backed away. But I don't know. I just feel like you have to find that balance
Yep.
because the world is dangerous and things do happen. And maybe, I always fall back when I think about, firearms and guns and stuff and kids. I always fall back to a best friend that I had when I was young, and his family, his grandfather, his dad, they taught him about shooting when he was really really young. And he was one of the people that, like, this is where I got really introduced into firearms through him, in terms of like actually having them and carrying them and using them. And he had such a respect for the guns that like he would go off on me if I did anything
Yeah.
remotely weird with the weapons. And it kind of like checked me at a pretty young age to follow his lead. And so I always felt like through seeing how he was, that it was possible to teach kids at a young age a healthy respect for firearms, and what to do and not to do with them, and what they're for and what they're not for. Again, maybe there's kids, like we just said before, that are born with a different kind of
Right. Yeah. True.
how it looks. Maybe he just happened to be
Yeah.
good for that. But yeah, definitely I've been thinking about that a lot more in terms of like getting more stuff. And but I also think about, okay, if I get more stuff, I need to add those layers of protection so that the kids aren't exposed. I don't know
Yeah.
if I didn't watch the video, but I heard about a video of a young girl accidentally shooting, I don't know if it's her brother.
Oh man.
Did you hear about that?
I mean, I've heard about. I don't know if this specific one. I've definitely heard about it, these type of
Yeah,
things
I haven't
happening.
seen it. Yeah, no, I haven't seen it, but recently there's a video circulating, and this is what they are telling me. I didn't even want to see it.
Nah. Yeah. I
That
don't
it was
want to
it
watch
was a
that.
little girl that had like an Uzi or a
Ah, geez.
Mac 10 or something,
Okay.
and she put, and the other little boy thought that it was a toy too, and they thought it was a toy, and she put it to his head, and they were both playing, and I even
Mm,
asked the person who told me, I was like, did the kid die? I mean, I would think obviously he might have, but they said they don't know. But that's terrifying.
it is, man.
Terrifying.
Yeah, dude. I don't know, man.
And that's
So,
why I guess if you do have them in the home, I guess if you could teach your kids at a young age, what that is and how dangerous it is.
mm-hmm.
I guess there's that fear that you're going to teach them what it is, and then they want to seek it out and use it. I don't know. That's a, a thing to think about.
Yeah, for sure. I think it also just depends, like, just getting to know your kids mentality and
Right.
like, okay, because you might have, so you've got two, one of them might be okay and have the appreciation and and understand the safety and everything. The other one might not, you know what I mean? So it's like you really gotta
Right.
dig in and figure out, I guess, what they're capable of, or
Like
where their head, where their head goes.
I worry about knives being easily accessible, like even the kitchen knives. I always tell my girl, like, if they're close to the counter where they can just grab it, because I just feel like they might grab it and playing around and like
Yeah,
go at each other, because they do it with toys.
yeah,
They always swinging toys at each other. So what's them to stop, grab whatever they don't even know what it is and just and then slice the other one. So
yeah. We introduced knives to him past couple years so that he has a better understanding of how to use them, just for like cooking, and but also like my wife had signed him up for some like outdoor stuff as well, because you can, there's all kinds of different environments around here, so you could go
right,
up into some of the mountains and out in the ocean and things like that. And so she got him a knife.
like a hunting knife,
Yeah, yeah, like a
survival knife.
yeah, yep, so that he could start learning how to use it and you know use it on wood and things like that. So um he's been pretty safe with it. I mean, it's a little nerve-wracking because it's like he's got to clasp it and then flip the blade up and stuff like that. So got a little worried with that, um but I don't know. These kids surprise me in terms of like the level of responsibility they actually have when you put them in, when you teach them and
Right.
you put them in the mix with some of this stuff.
I mean, I'm sure you were exposed to a lot at a young age, but it's crazy to think about how I'm worried about a knife being around my kid. But I remember vividly around 13 or 14 being exposed to a grenade, a real grenade. So
I didn't see the grenade. I think I was on butterfly knives at that point.
no, I had all that. I mean, I was the kid that had the Chinese stars,
Yeah, yep,
the Rambo knives,
yep.
and all that stuff. But yeah, there was some dudes in the neighborhood that
That's some
that
grenades.
had it all. Let's just say
Nice.
that.
Okay. All right.
And I knew what it was because I was so into like military stuff and war. I was like, oh wow. But imagine like I can't even fathom my kids. Like, please, no, never.
Yeah. Jesus.
I'm here. I don't want a toothpick around them.
Right.
God forbid a grenade.
Grenade. And I think on that note, man, I'm gonna have to call it and go pack.
Oh man. And we didn't even talk about the war in Ukraine. All right, brother. All right, take it easy, man. Have a good weekend. Keep the family safe.
Yes,
Until
sir.
the
You
next
too,
time.
man. Hope you're feeling better.
Thank you, man.
All right.